Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have a Shinsou X listener. It's You Should Sleep by Rowan Oak on AO3. The link will be in the description. Go check them out, and let's go ahead and get into it. Listener sighed as they looked over at their boyfriend. Purple hair seemed to defy gravity as the young man sat hunched over his desk. The dark circles under his eyes had grown more prominent as of late. This was to be expected. Sleepless nights weren't uncommon for Hitoshi. Even before he was a pro hero, he had been something of a workaholic, and they suspected he had somehow managed to inherit the same insomnia that plagued his mentor, Eraserhead. However, this problem only got worse after he became a pro hero. If listener had a dime for every time they had gone to bed alone because their boyfriend was busy working on some report, they'd be the richest person in Japan. It wasn't that they minded his work ethic. They were a pro hero themselves, and they understood the importance of getting one's work done, but they were just concerned about his health. Hitoshi had a bad problem of not taking care of himself properly. Again, something they suspected he had inherited from his mentor. "You should sleep. I am not human, therefore I do not require sleep." Listener couldn't help but huff in amusement at his words. Never let it be said, their boyfriend didn't have a quip at the ready for every situation. They stood up and walked over to him. Looking over his shoulder, they noted it was a report he was filling out on a villain he had caught a couple of days ago. It was easy to get behind on paperwork, especially with Hitoshi, who was a bit of a perfectionist when it came to filling everything out. They ran their fingers through his hair lightly, their fingers scratching along his scalp in a way they knew he loved. "Love, come to bed. You really do need rest." Their voice was soft and calming. They knew it was a tone that almost always meant they'd get their way. When their boyfriend wasn't trying to be exceedingly stubborn, of course. "I have to finish this," came the sleepy mumble from beneath their fingers. They sighed lightly at him, stubborn as he was. "Hito, it's 3 a.m. You need your rest. I promise I will wake you up and you can finish your paperwork before your patrol tomorrow." Their boyfriend did not offer any kind of acknowledgement. Instead, he merely grunted at their words, and listener frowned at him. If he wanted to do this, then they would just have to pull out the big guns. "Shinsou?" They felt him stiffen under their fingers. He always knew they were the most serious if they used his last name. Good. Maybe they would have his full attention then. "What would happen to your quirk if you were, let's say, be going on 3 nights with little to no sleep?" They were met with his silence, but his pen had stopped moving across the paper. The answer: it became ridiculously easy to break from his hold. Much like Eraserhead's dry eye, Hitoshi's concentration was an important factor in his quirk. If he were too sleep-deprived, they knew that concentration would be hard to keep. They pressed on. "And let's say you're going on 3 nights with no sleep, and you have to capture a villain, only for them to break free of your hold, and then go on injuring civilians or other heroes, and even police officers." More silence. Not that it mattered. They would just keep talking then. Can you imagine the guilt you would feel if that happened? Something that could be perfectly avoided if you just put the paper down and, "Fine, I get it. I'll go to bed for a couple of hours." His voice was harsh, but they didn't take it personally. He was grouchy when he was tired. Listener hummed happily and kissed behind his ear. "I thought you'd see it my way." An annoyed grunt was their only response as they turned and padded back across the room to their bed. They pulled back the covers and settled in, watching as their boyfriend reluctantly got himself up from his desk and dragged himself to the bathroom to get ready for bed. Listener waited patiently. A soft meow from the end of the bed sounded before their cat Mochi jumped up on the bed. Listener grinned down at the cat. I know it's exciting. Daddy's finally coming to bed. Mochi blinked slowly at her before meowing once more and curling up in her usual place at the leftmost end of the bed. It was a couple minutes later when Hitoshi finally exited the bathroom and climbed into bed. They could tell, despite the fact that he was trying to fight it, he was exhausted. "I'm only gonna sleep for a few hours," he mumbled tiredly. Listener nodded, but secretly thought to themselves that they would make sure he got at least 8 hours of sleep. Really, he needed it, even if he wouldn't admit it. They opened their arms, a silent invitation for him to crawl into them and rest his head on their chest, one they knew he would take. They felt him pull their body into his head resting in the center so he could hear both their breathing and their heartbeat. Something Listener had found out: Hitoshi was actually quite the physical lover. He enjoyed holding them and listening to their heartbeat. They thought it helped him fall asleep, knowing that there was someone else there for him, knowing that person would not leave him to the loneliness they could only imagine he felt throughout his life. They lifted their arms and gently stroked their hand through his hair, the other coming to rest lazily against his back. They felt him sigh out of relief, and just as his breathing evened out, they heard the softest words escape his lips. "I love you, Listener." Listener smiled softly, nuzzling their face into the wild purple locks of their lover, sighing out softly in contentment as they too drifted off into sleep. "I love you too, Hito." Alright, so that's the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever. Goodbye!